Just over 3 weeks now. What's your thoughts, first of all, on the inclusion and the diversity within women's football and the World Cup?
It's great, but again, it's down to us as fans to be doing it all. One or two of the players have had little bits of colour in their hair as well, and one or two of them have worn wristbands and things like that, and on the training gear and stuff, and had the rainbow laces and things like that in the boots, and that's fine. But again, sadly, because of the FIFA restrictions and FIFA once again saying that LGBT plus inclusion is political rather than what it actually is and a human right, and that so sadly it's been left down to the fans again to do what they want, and it's organisations like ourselves at Just a Ball Game, and then locally here in Australia the team behind Pride Cup Australia, and that have been getting out and doing things for and with the fans.
Now, I know this isn't your first World Cup, so how many World Cups have you been to, and how do you think things have changed? Have things improved, or do you feel like things have just kind of been stagnant in relation to equality in sports?
So I've been to a couple of the men's World Cups. I stuck my own neck out in 2006 going to Germany because I spent a lot of time in Germany, and we team up with the LGBT fan groups under the banner of queer football fan clubs out there. So I took my LGBT flags and stuff back then anyway, and this is my third Women's World Cup. Again, when we was out in the stadiums in Wolfsburg and that, it wasn't an issue. It's never a problem having LGBT flags out there and representation. It was the same in France, to be honest, in 2019. We just got on with our own thing and did our own thing like we have done this time, and that so this time we have had to get accreditation from FIFA in advance to take our flags to the game, and we had to do that as well in France in 2019, but everything was signed off. It's just sadly that the messages don't always get passed down, so that's why we had a problem the first game we went to up in Brisbane, when the student come over and said you can't have your flags up there, even though we had the official accreditation that we printed out. But we get around it and we just carry on, and we just do our own thing.
We
anyway.
just do things with a smile, don't we? We just try and get on with it.
Yeah, because we're there and we're representing not just ourselves but huge communities in the stands and the players on the pitch. So we just get on with it.
Don't get me wrong, Just a Ball Game to me is one of the most important things, and the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing today is because my first ever women's football game, I saw your flag, and it was the first time I've ever seen a rainbow flag at football. And to me, that was the first moment I've actually felt welcome at football for who I am, and I could actually drop my shoulders and be myself. So I've never really had a chance to say it, but thank you for what you did there. But I've had issues myself getting into WSL games with the rainbow flag, with a flag with a rainbow and a trans flag on there. And I feel like this tournament, the education is still not there with stewards. I think there's a lot to be done through FIFA and with the football clubs and the stewarding throughout this country, same as it is back home.
There is, yeah, and it's not just in the UK, and it's not just here in Australia. Like I say, I've been to many of the games in Germany. Usually go to several games in Germany a year, and they still have issues and problems. And it's getting to talk to the right people. The people at the very top are usually very good and very informative and understand and know what needs to be done. Just like we are down at grassroots, but it's like that little middle management, if you want, where people like they just can't be bothered or they don't want to know, and then they don't always press on with the education and do the work in hand to support the teams that are there, who are like the regular teams, because like a lot of people won't understand that to me it's easy to understand because I've worked in security for over 20 years now. That you subcontract so many times, so the education that you've got, you might have your stand supervisors and your regular teams who are security, and you can educate them because you see them and you use them every week. Then maybe just on a daily basis, or maybe 2 or 3 times a season, they don't get that education. But we have those resources. Anybody here watching, we have created those resources at Just a Ball Game to get them handed out. But we need funding to be able to get things printed out and to be able to get around the country, just in England, and get those resources out. The few that we did get help with through Kick It Out and through a little bit of funding with the Home Office back in 2017 was well received. The clubs were coming back to kick it out after their 25-year history and saying, these resources are great, we've never had this in 25 years. People coming back from the clubs 2 or 3 days after they got the resources saying, can you send us more?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the
funding ran out.
The Home Office just said, like, that's the funding we give you, was everything that was there. And of course we've got to get things printed, and then we've got to mobilise ourselves around the country. And in the end, they only went out to the top 4 professional leagues. Nothing else down the men's game in the pyramid, and then never even bothered touching the women's game. So there's still a lot of work to be done. But any of these big supporters now of the WSL and women's football and the Lionesses, if they want to get behind just a ball game and LGBT inclusion and make things a little bit easier for us, then partner with us and put that funding our way, and we can make things a lot better.
So if we had a pot of money, an unlimited pot of money, what would be the first thing you'd try and do?
Well, update our resources and get more of our resources together, the resources that work, and basically box them up and get them all out to the teams in the women's game to begin with, and that, again, right down through the pyramid. And that can be anything, like we're talking about, like our inclusion booklets, the rainbow pins, lanyards, t-shirts, things like that. People will use different things in different ways, and lots of rainbow laces and trans inclusion laces and non-binary laces, which we've been handing out for years when we have bits of funding out.
Which I think, when the FA does the Rainbow Laces weekend and Sky Sports get behind it, it's great because it's a weekend. But I don't know about you, but I feel like once that weekend's over, it's kind of like Christmas is done. Everything's disappeared then.
Yeah.
And again, it's kind of like, let's all be proud for one weekend and then let's forget about it until the year after. I think that's the kind of thing what we need to get on board with, is to tell them that.
And that's it, and this needs to carry on all year round. So I'm grateful that from time to time GMB, our trade union, supports some of the work that we're doing. But at the end of the day, it's still members' money, so they don't have a lot of money to hand out to us. But as we've always said, and one of the reasons why Just a Ball Game exists is because homophobia, biphobia and transphobia happens every single day. So we don't have a dedicated year or a dedicated weekend. We just get on with stuff, and we do stuff every single day or every single week if we can.
And that's why GMB tie in really well with the football, because like you say, it happens. You're not just gay at the football. You're gay every day, or you're part of the queer community every day, and it does have an impact on your daily life or work life. And I just feel like the GMB are definitely getting behind us in regards to looking out for us when it comes to inclusion, in not just in sport but also in our works and daily environment.
They are. I mean, a trade union themselves have still got a long way to go with all their equality strands and that, but they are learning and they are keen to come on board and support people. Very much a marathon and not a sprint around LGBT inclusion, and that's just in our own country as well. There's still things that are still wrong within our own country, and then when you look at things globally, it's quite scary, some of the stuff that's going on and what other people who are LGBT across the world have to put up with. But again, football is a leveller. Football is a great sport where you can go to all 4 corners of the world. If you don't know the language, you've never met anybody before, if you're kicking a ball around, you've got Ronaldo, Messi, David Beckham, if you've got Marta, if you've got Lucy Bronze, if you've got Miedemar on your shirt, you've got something to communicate with straight away.
So football's a leveller. We all know about Christmas Day, during the put down the guns and weapons and play football. And I think that it shows that football really is this sport that can bring anyone together. And I think this World Cup's really shown that as well. The amount of fans we've been speaking to in the grounds and around there, everyone's there for the same reason, that's to support the game. But with the men's game, do you think there's got a lot to learn, things they could actually learn from the women's game, especially around equality?
Well, definitely, make it more family friendly and learn from the mistakes that they've made in the past in the men's game, and learn from the women's game, and start really, catching up with what constitutes as being inclusion, and looking at all equalities, looking at all diversities. I mean, we can only do things from an LGBT plus perspective and that, but there's
major issues when it comes to discrimination against disabilities. I found this country really quite forward when it comes to for disabled fans. But I think as a team, Minot County, we've just come out of National League, so in numerous grounds where you've known support for anybody in a wheelchair, for people who need assistance off sticks and such. So I think this country, for what I've seen, obviously we've only been to good stadiums, top stadiums, because we've been having these games in small stadiums, but I think we've definitely got things right when it comes to looking after the disabled fans.
Again, like I say, when we're looking at inclusion, equality and diversity.
Have you ever tried getting on board with the disabilities, sort of different groups, you're all coming together, or is it just...
I have at Notts County, yeah.
Yeah.
So I suffer from scoliosis, so I was in a wheelchair myself as a teenager, and I've got the experience of that, also brought up in a household with a grandfather who was paraplegic, disabled from his waist down. So I've always got that kind of mentality of looking for ramps, and I'm aware of how good things are. The minute we're stood on a boardwalk, which is not great, but you've got a perfectly paved area at the side of it. Wherever you see stairs, you either see lifts or ramps here. I've got a good friend, Nick, back home, who's disabled, and I know when we go to great games it can be difficult to, for instance, the England game went on sale yesterday at Leicester, but we can't actually get tickets until I think Saturday morning, UK time, because we need to get in contact with them to be able to book an assisted seat. I've been to cricket in the UK where he's got a seat for his mobility scooter, but I've had to sit on the floor. So it's little things back home where I feel like here they're probably a little bit cleverer and they're a bit more forward thinking.
Yeah. Go funding yourself, or have you done anything like that, or like fundraising?
We've tried a few times, but because our say followership through social media and things like it's not that extensive, and it's not great. It's not too great. Like we've got our website, we've got our blog, and we do some really progressive things and some really first time things and that. But we don't really sell much through the shop online and things like that. And sadly, it's the interaction as well. But this is where we need the likes of your football fan groups, your supporters associations. We need the FA. We need the WSL to get behind us, should I say, and promote us a little bit more in what we're doing.
And the Free Lionesses, can they put the word out? And have you got many followers through those?
We've been part of their fan experiences and their fan meetups and walks here in Australia. But again, because of the longevity I've had with going to 5 World Cups now, men's and women's and that's the first time they've done anything in the women's game. They still need to build things up, and they still need to...
Oh, so that's the first time they've done?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's the first time anything's been done for the women's game. It's like, they did do a few things last year for the Euros and that, but this is the first time that everything's been done in a World Cup.
And would they maybe like have a meeting with you once this is all over, and maybe... Do you think maybe the Knicks games, the European games, or...
I always think whenever you finish something, you should always do what we've done good, what we've done better, what can we do better next time. And that's probably just from previous roles and jobs we always have a briefing at the end of the day, say at work. It would be nice if they could do that, even if it is getting together before the next England game at Wembley, say, so we can all get around a table or around, even if it's in a pub, to say what can we do better next time, because you can always improve. And I think we've done good this time, but I think things can be done better.
And what things do you think they could do better?
I think it's all day outs and things which personally I just think things what I would do, but again I'm going from I've got a history of working with young people and looking out for them and trying to keep them entertained. I think it's maybe not down to Free Lionesses, but I think as supporters I think there could be a lot of lonely fans who could kind of be looked after slightly better by, if someone's heading up some supporters network, then we could have people, even if it's just mental health check-ins and things like that, which could be done. It'd be done quite cheaply and if not free. So I think just to make sure that everyone feels welcome, and I think these groups are great for bringing people together. I feel like there's still a lot of fans out there who've travelled on their own who may be looking for more than just the meetups before the game.
I mean, because you've been to so many World Cups, if someone gave you like a free ticket, free accommodation, and you buddied up with someone, would that be something you'd be interested in?
Yeah,
you know, like
in some circumstances, but it's more it's not just that. It's on the game days, or maybe on the not the game days.
Yeah.
Maybe the game days are okay. Maybe it's on like these down
days. Yeah.
You know, if people are out here for 2 or 3 weeks on their own and that, and finding some way to connect with them and doing other things, not necessarily away from the football, but not focused on the game days itself.
Say if we had a WhatsApp group and like today I've got nothing on, who fancies doing something, and someone might say, oh, I'm going to the zoo today, do they want to tag along? Something just as simple as that.
And those that have come out on the official FA trip, you've seen them and that already, and that's fine, because they've paid a little bit extra to go and do certain things and do stuff like that. But if we're all in it together, we're all in it together, and you know, it's getting the word out there now we've done it for the first time, and making sure next time there's a World Cup or a Euros and Lionesses fans that are travelling abroad, as well as the qualifiers and that. Don't forget there's quite a few qualifiers to get through for the next couple of years, and again for the World Cup in 4 years' time as well. You see that the likes of the Netherlands and other teams and Swedish teams and things like that, they're already head and shoulders above everybody else, because they've got their huge meetups and their huge fan walks where they walk maybe a mile and a half from the town centres up to the ground and things, or wherever they gather, and they've got the bands and they're all in orange or they're all in yellow, and
the
they've all got flags
representation
and everything and that. It's like, it's a massive spectacle, and it's great to join in, and they're more than happy for fans of other teams to come and join in and things like that. So
You've actually,
but we need support from the FA to do this.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, the Free Lionesses and that, it's still a group of volunteers and it's still fans doing it themselves. We need the FA to have a presence out here when we're doing all these things and to support what we're doing. You know.
And when you joined up with some of the Australian groups, did that heighten your profile a little bit, and maybe did then people come on board at all?
Yeah, well, hopefully it will do, because obviously we haven't seen too much, because we've been doing our own things here, and the resources I've left with the Pride Cup team for here in Sydney and also for Melbourne, but they've been doing 120 plus watch parties themselves right across Australia, in all the towns and cities, wherever they've linked into the whole sport. So this is a whole LGBT sports community coming together, not people who just follow football. So we've got the resources out to as many people as we could, and hopefully we can carry on these links over the next few years, because there's quite a lot more sport coming back to Australia in the next few years. They're going to be hosting a lot more sport, not just football. So hopefully then we'll build on this, and we'll have a little bit more of a following in Australia, like we've had over the last few years now in North America.
Younger supporters, like if you're not the social media part, has some of the supporters, have they sort of shown an interest and thought, oh, I'll volunteer and help and maybe get your profile up even bigger?
I think we've made an impact on a lot of the people who've been at the meetups, and I think again it's probably the same as how I felt when I first found out about Just a Bowl Game. It's kind of like, oh, there is a place for me, and there might be, whether they're out or not, they know that they can get to football, and they probably feel like when they go to women's football that they feel safe and that they're in quite an inclusive environment. But again, what about these fans when they go to men's games? There's a lot that needs to be done, and I think, like we were saying earlier, there's so much can be learned from the women's game and the women's fans that can actually make a major difference to the men's game, major improvements.
From what you've seen, is there any things where you thought, oh, they could have done that a lot better, you know, for the women's game?
Yeah, take a minute to think of that, because
well, in terms of supporting the team and myself, it's like it's sorting the tickets out and getting us all together.
Yeah.
And I know that's difficult, because obviously FIFA in a tournament like this are in control, and we got our tickets in the pre-sale and that. But it's like it's the FA's negotiating with the likes of FIFA and saying, look, let's get the allocations even in the pre-sales to people who are buying tickets individually or buying tickets as small groups themselves, in that if they've taken the time and trouble to sign up for the pre-sale, it's because they really want to go and that. But again, give them a choice, you know, to get together in groups behind the goals, groups at the sides, you know, maybe 2 or 3 different areas around the stadiums where we can all sit together.
We've actually been really lucky, haven't we, with our seats? We've had some really good seats, but some people, I seen someone on social media the other day where it says 2023, the nosebleed season, because all their seats have been right up in the gods. and they've not, to say they booked early, they've not really had the opportunity to have decent seats, which would have been any other festival gig, anything like that. The earlier you book, the better the seats.
Seats, and especially for the knockout rounds and everything. So the allocations have been there. So again, it's the FA's communicating with people at FIFA and saying we want to build a women's game, we want to build the atmospheres especially, and we want to keep everybody safe and that together, and let's do it and let's make it better all round. Surely like FIFA rely on their TV audiences and everything for the funding coming into them in the first place. So surely it looks better if you've got 100 people waving Lionesses flags behind the goals than what it does than everybody's,
in the same breath,
spread around.
In the same breath, the one thing I don't want to do is end up with segregation where we've got a barrier between our fans and theirs. So.
But then, like, you're not hearing people's voices, like at the China game, with the drums and everything like that. That's what everyone could hear, but they couldn't hear the England fans, even though
we
were
won. There and we were there in numbers, but because we were spread out.
It was the voice sort of wasn't.
If they have little pockets in different areas around the ground, some people like to stand behind the goals. We certainly do, and get our flags out and things, and that. And some people like to watch from the stands and watch from the middle, like maybe like you would be watching on a TV, sort of like that sort of a view, and that's fine. But if you sell like a couple of 100 seats together. For the fans, even in the pre-sale and that, then
really shouldn't be
worth
difficult.
doing.
Yeah, because some people have bought tickets when they first come out, and they've got terrible seats, like really bad.
Obstructive views, and someone on Twitter the other day where they were saying, how is this not obstructive view? And you've got basically a stairway in front of them, and they can see the goal, but they can't see anything what happens in the middle.
By meeting you two, that you weren't given a complimentary pass. I mean, that wouldn't be a lot to give you.
It'd be nice just to have a token T-shirt or something, But I think
at the end of the day, we follow the Lionesses. I mean, I follow the Lionesses for over 16 years now with my flags and my colours, and being LGBT plus inclusive. But I do it because I want to, not because I need to or I'm expecting anything.
But for someone like me, and I'm just hearing your stories, I am quite shocked that they don't go, here's complimentary, you can pass your message on. It's not coming out your own pockets, or if you've got a pocket of funding from the union, GMB, it's just like, here you go, here's like a thank you for doing the rainbow colour.
It'd be nice to get something, or just recognition would be great, but to be honest, I'm never one for freebies, and especially in the women's game when I've been offered free tickets in the past, I've been to a few free games, but to be honest, I'd rather be the person who pays for it and knows that that money's going back to the club. Like, again, for my grassroots Notts County women, there's no way I'd go in. I bought 2 season tickets last season because I know it funded the club, and it helps with the payment of things. But if some sporting betting company came on board and said we would like to pay for you to go all expenses to Australia and that, I'd feel like pretty tainted, to be honest, to be out here. I feel like I'll be, especially if they've been discriminative in the past. So, I just don't think, being out here, we can do what we want, how we want to do it, because we're not beholden to any.
You can say what you want,
Say what we want, but we would always be in a respectful way.
But there's always ways around it if people see plus inclusion and the FA. It's not just the FA in England, but like the home countries and other countries across Europe, because they still have the same problems in the Netherlands and also in Germany, following the women's game and following the men's game. There's still lots of talks going on behind the scenes, but not much is going on. It's all very much awareness raising, where the teams or the clubs or the individual players will be on certain days allowed to wear something and that. But we're still having chats about, like communal toilets and communal ways of getting in and out of the stadiums, where it's so relaxed here in Australia how they've done it, for instance. So we've got the men's Euros coming up next year in Germany, and we're still in talks, because if you're female you have to go to a female, and if you're male you have to go to a male, and there's not too many male stewards or security on, so they've got to do the pat downs. Just do it like they've done it here. There's been male and females coming as fans, there's been males and females, or however anybody identifies as staff working, that trans might be non-binary and that, but you're rocking up and you're going in, yes you're having your bags checked and yes you're being searched, but they're wanting the searches, so it's irrelevant of what sexuality or what gender you are. We're just fans coming to the game, and the people that are working here are just people who are working, and it's irrelevant for them. They're just doing their job. It's so easy, you know. And like in some of the stadiums, you've got male toilets, you've got female toilets, and you've got unisex toilets, and that. And it's great.
It's the first time I've ever seen them at a football match.
And there's no big issue with it. You just look, where do I want to go, and you go, and that's it, you know.
What things are pluses and what things are minuses?
Obviously the minus is the travelling.
Yeah.
The downside is going all the way around the world for a World Cup, but it's just another experience and things like that, isn't it?
Not only that, as soon as we got here, we've been on 6 flights internally as well. Well, 7 technically, due to a cancelled on the runway flight. But it's been some amazing times. Don't get me wrong. I can't really think of too many negatives. I think passport control, but customs at the airport's being very inconsistent. That's a major issue. But I can't really think of any massive negatives. Builders in the hotel, but that's not really FIFA's fault.
No, but it's just, you know, the FIFA a little bit more and get the right people on board and talk to the right people to iron out all these issues behind the game and make things more welcoming. If they want to go beyond greatness, then do it, but speak to the right people and get us on board. And those of us that have got the experiences, you know, bring us in, and we'll show you how to go on, and then everybody can have a great time.
You can learn a lot from talking to people, and to me, I think that's what we need to do. We all need to talk more, we need to listen more, and to actually understand each other a lot more. But without finishing on a negative, what's your best moment since you arrived in Sydney?
So your best moment?
The very tense but yet very exciting England win.
Penalties?
Yeah.
Really? Horrible
Thing to go through. I wouldn't like to have been any of those players on the pitch, but we got there in the end. It's like, come on England.
What was it, my pulse 157? I can't say that I agree with you on that one, but to me, if you just spin round now, we're so lucky to be here. So just signing off, just like to say thank you, and have a look at Darling Harbour.